channel. Today I was working on a Ferguson dial Waltham pocket watch. So this pocket watch had all kinds of problems. Actually, it didn't have all kinds of problems. It just needed a good cleaning. I lied. Anyway, it needed a good cleaning, and then in this video you see me take the jewels out and clean them and then put them back in. It's very tough with this particular watch. I'm trying to be really excited about everything here and just to wake you up. So I did all that, and then at the very end I went to work on the balance, and I noticed after looking very closely at the balance that the pivot on the top was slightly bent, and I thought, oh, that's not good. It slightly means not so good, and it was more than slightly, I think. But anyway, you'll see it at the end. The pivot was bent. I tried to straighten that pivot up using a J-Cot tool, the kind of the tame and lame way of doing it. It's probably more safe than any other method. I'm not including that technique in this video, but I tried doing that. And then I said, okay, it's not working, so I'll bring my pivot straightening, $300 pivot straightening device with a series of jewels in a circle. And so I started doing that, and I got to the end and the pivot snapped off, and so it's broken. So now I have removed the pivot. As you can see, I've removed the balance staff, and the balance is in there. The staff is sticking to this little tiny piece of Rodico, and tomorrow I'm going to make a brand new balance staff for this watch, and let's get this thing running properly with a brand new fresh balance staff. I'm sure if I tried to straighten that pivot out, it would have been weak anyway, and over time that would have broke. So it's probably better to make a brand new balance staff. Let's see how long it takes me to do that tomorrow. Thanks for watching my channel. I'm JD. Subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and it's jdwatchservice@gmail.com if you want to get a hold of me. If you want me to do any work for you, let me know. And I'm going to try to calm down right now and go watch some golf. Hey, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be continuing to work on the Ferguson dial Waltham 16S pocket watch. So I'm going to be removing the jewel settings or the jewel caps anyway, and make sure that I've got clean, very clean, spankly clean jewel settings in here and jewels. So this is not a super difficult job, but just want to make sure that there's no issues. I did look at the jewels under the microscope, but the jewel that I didn't look at was the jewel for the lower balance. So this is the lower plate of the watch. So I've got to coax this jewel out of place here, or this screw. I call it a jewel, but it's actually a screw. So, and it looks like it doesn't want to come out. So it will eventually come out. These things are pretty shallow, so I think that I can feel it riding up and then dropping down. Maybe at this point here I can get it out. Or I use tweezers and see if I can coax it out that way, or just get the edge of it with a screwdriver and kind of lift it out. So the way I can do this is actually by taking one screwdriver on the edge and providing a bit of upward force on it. Almost worked. Went back down again. There we go. Oh my God! I have to remember where that one goes in, because it went out. It came out a bit too. It turned a bit too easy, which tells me that it might have been a little bit stripped. I'll keep that on the left and right side by putting it down on my mat in the right place. so it doesn't, so I don't have to concern myself with that. Now I'm hoping I can just edge this this cap out, which I may or may not be able to do. Just hang on a sec. The other way of doing this is just to push it out from the back end, and then deal with it from that side. So that's the other way of doing it, but I don't want to flip this around yet, or maybe I do. Let me see. Let me see. Let's take this movement out of the number 58 movement holder. So it's the far end one, which is the lower balance jewel. So I can just push that straight down, likely, and use a piece of pegwood to do that if the pegwood's not too wide. And just push that straight down if that's possible. Let me check before I do that to make sure I know which way the other one is going in. So there is a witness mark right there, I can see it. Just an ever so slight witness mark, and a line scraped this way. And there's a witness mark here and a witness mark here. So whoever did the work on this last put just an ever so small witness mark on these, which is good. That's good stuff. That way I don't have to worry too much about when I put it back that there's another issue of getting it in properly. So let's just see if this will push out here. This thing is in good. Alright, that took Herculean force to push that jewel setting out. Let me look down here. And there it is. So we're going to do one setting at a time here because I don't want to interfere here. But this is probably the most important setting on the watch because it is for the balance staff. So what I'm going to do with this, and this is the that's not bad. I just looked at the shine of the top of this setting. So this is the cap that goes on, and I wanted to make sure the shine is good there. So what I'll do is throw these two into some alcohol and rinse them out, just to get them nice and super duper clean, right? And that would basically take a lot of the dirt out if there is any dirt in there at all. So and I'm going to use this little tiny container I have here to do that. So there's the two settings here, and I'm just going to toss those in, clean them up, and I'm going to have a look at them under with the microscope to make sure they're still good. Should be, but who knows? Who knows? This could definitely cause the watch to slow down or just get gummed up or whatever. So got to make sure these are fairly clean. So just throw those in for a few seconds, and I'm just going to let those sit for a few minutes, and then I'll be back. All right, that's long enough. Just take these out and put them on the paper here, and then let them dry. This is the papier watch paper, and just let them dry in there. And while they're drying, I can see if I can get the next one out. What do you think? I'll just move this over to the side here, and I've got those two screws lined up with it. And I've got the world's best stuff to dry stuff off with. So I'm just going to flip this around again, and I've got the next one here. I don't want to mix these up though. So it's 1, 2, 3. So it's I'm tempted to just do one at a time because I don't want to screw this up. Yeah, I think I'll just do one at a time here. So I'm going to dry this off and come back. All right, there's a shot of the lower balance jewel. So I cleaned it up very nicely, and it is clean as a whistle. So there's my tweezers going by just to prove it's an active shot. And the jewel is in great condition. So it was a little bit dirty, but it's now clean. So there you go. That's one. So now I've got to very carefully put this jewel back in its setting, and it goes in this direction. So spread my tweezers out a little more because they're kind of not big enough. There it is there. I should be able to push this down with a piece of pegwood safely. So I do want to make sure that the end of that pegwood is nice and flat and there's no dirt in it as I push it down. So I'm just going to very quickly file the end of that pegwood. Just to take out anything that might dirty up that movement. So, or the hole. I'm just filing the pegwood here in the back here, just to make sure it's got any gum or anything that's left over in that pegwood is out of it before I use it to push that piece down. And then after I've filed it, I'm just going to touch it with a piece of Rodico. You'll be very happy to see that I've got a brand new fresh piece of Rodico for my work. And so somebody had commented that my Rodico looked bad last time, so I've gone to better Rodico, cleaner Rodico. There, that went in nicely, I think. Looks like it's got to go in a little bit more of an angle here. I will check the other side to make sure that it's in well and it's sticking up, and it's on the rim that's holding it in place. Just touch that like this, and then you're going to flip that over and have a look on the inside to make sure that the jewel's going to fall here. So there we go. Just make sure that it's in correctly. Actually looks to be at a bit of an angle, so you can't have that. I'm just looking where the slope is on this, so it's sloping towards the outside, I think. Yeah, it's sloping towards the outside. So what I'm going to do is just tap it ever so slightly with a concave or a domed stake. I'm just going to tap it with the stake here, and I know that if the jewel is not in properly, then it's going to be angled, and if it's angled, it's going to have other issues. So just put the stake in like that, and just a couple of taps like so. Don't tap it too hard or you'll crack the jewel in the center. You just want the thing to be sitting there nicely and without any issues. It looks like it's gone in nicely now. There we go. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. So that's in very nicely. Now if I had to push that in with my pegwood and not tapped it at all, just said okay, we're good, push it in with the pegwood, then I could have had and tried to put in the cap. Then I would have had all kinds of other issues because it would have been at an angle, which is not good. So there's my cap, and I'm just going to touch the cap with the Rodico again just to make sure that that surface is clean. I didn't pick up anything. It's funny, these jewels are pretty fancy. The cap jewels here on one side have a diamond shape, and I got to make sure that when I turn this around that it's facing the right direction. So just going to turn it around quickly and see where the witness mark is. So the witness mark looks to be right there, which is perfect. So I'll just turn this around like that and put a little bit of oil on there. This is the 9010 watch oil, and as I've said before, if you pull it out slowly you get just a tiny bit of oil. If you put it out fast you get a ton of oil. And you don't want a whole big giant ton of oil on here, just want a little bit of oil. Clean that off in my whatever it's called stuff. Close my cap. Now I'm going to very carefully try to put this in right. Now what I want to do is not touch any sides or anything with this. As I rotate my tweezers very carefully without putting any pressure on it, and just move the movement around until the screw holes are pretty much aligned, and drop it. And I want to nudge that a bit. I think that's pretty much in place right there. I'm going to just see if that'll go down the way it is, and if it's in place perfectly. I'm looking down on it. It looks pretty darn good. I'm just going to continue to go down here on this, and that is now snugged up against the lower balance jewel. There we go. So that is perfect. Now you can see how much time it takes just to do that, right? So take the jewel out, clean the jewel, bring it back, align it properly, tap it in, and put it in place. So it's if you take your time, you'll do a good job. If you don't take your time, you'll screw it up. So I do not want to screw anything up. There, I was holding my breath there for that. Now, put this bit in here. That's one. All right, number two, same routine. Just unscrew this, and I like to take the screws out one at a time. I know there's people that loosen them all up and then take them out, and I put those out of the way so I don't screw it up, and then I loosened these ones just before, so I just loosened all of them just a tiny bit so I wouldn't have to torque down on them, and then they're easier to take out. And I'm hoping I can just lift this setting out like I did before and not have to push it through. So yeah, this one's going to come out nicely, and there's a witness mark on this one as well. There we go. So take this out, throw it into the SpongeBob SquarePants like that, and I think I will have to punch this out here from the other side to basically get this out of the setting. Let me have a look at it. Yeah, this is for the pallet fork, I believe. So this is the pallet fork jewel, and it is also capped, which is interesting. So pretty high-end watch with all these capped jewels. So I think it's this one here. Yeah, that one came out really easy, which is nice. So I won't have to struggle the next time. So I'm going to throw this in here, like so, and I'm going to clean that and just let this sit in here for a little while it rinses out, and I'm going to just poke it a few times with my paintbrush, because those little bristles will get inside of the jewel holes, which is nice. So sometimes the jewel just gets stuck in the bristle. But just poke it a few times with the paintbrush, and then wipe the liquid off the paintbrush, because there's not a lot of liquid in there. So gotta make sure that I don't put the dial feed on, sparking it while I have the that lighter fluid right next to me. That would be interesting. That would cause all kinds of issues anyway. So I'm going to take these out, have a look at them, and then let them dry. I put these down on an old business card to transport them over to the microscope so I don't drop anything on the carpet. Yeah, there's just a quick shot of the microscope. So I've got the lights off in the microscope because it'll just blind you. So I've got the two jewels I just took off, and they're at the base of the microscope, and I can adjust the microscope up or down, as you can see it moving there, and look at the jewels. But when I turn this light on, it's going to just blind the camera, so as you can see, so you can't see anything. But not that there's anything interesting going on. And watch check. So there's the San Martin watch with the Cyclops in the perfect position for viewing. So just love it. Just love it. I'm in love with it again. There you go. And over here on the corner, right, is another watch. It's the Pagani design watch, which is also a beauty, but not as much of beauty as the San Martin. So I did a review of these two, and I'm just keeping this one here for now. I'll flip over to it a little later, but anyway, I just figured I'd give you a quick shot of that, and turn it off now. And it's alrighty then. So that's cleaned up now. So the big issue there for these ones was it's basically needed to just clean up a little bit of dirt that was on there for a century. So let's throw that in there and mind my own business. So that just needed a bit of cleaning. So that should be fine now. Just push this back in place. And I brought that, I gotta get that steak out again because I think that was a good idea. So, something I'd really like to have for dinner tonight, actually. Nice steak. And just push that in again. Just a different round. Kind of have to make sure it's in there and flat, right? So, which means I got to check the other side again because I'm not sure if that's in deep enough. It always seems strange at an angle, but if you check the upside, you're going to see whether it's good or not, and that looks good there. Yep, no issue. Always looks slightly off with an angle, but just check the rim. Check the rims and make sure the rims are sticking out. So, and when I clean these jewels, I just use the back of the pegwood I sanded before. I just use the back of this pegwood first to just get rid of any extra grime rather, and then I use a piece of Rodico and I press it down onto the jewel and the jewel setting, and then I lift the jewel setting off the Rodico, so I push it off. Then I do the same thing over and over and over again until I can see that there's nothing left of any concern on that jewel, right? It's completely free of any dirt. So, and this one here, this is the jewel here, and I just have to again make sure when I rotate it, I'm rotating it onto the witness mark here. So here the witness mark is right over there. There's a little tiny scratch on the plate, and on this side I can see the witness mark is over there, so I have to turn this around. Of course, the jewels always pop up and pop down, and they're all over the place, right? So there's a witness mark there, so that's got to go in kind of like that. Let me just move that over a bit more. And it's going in like that. It's going in like this, because that's where the witness mark is. So I have to turn that around and put a spot of 9010 on that. Now this actually was pretty gummed up. So I'm grabbing my 9010 here, and so sorry you're not getting the play-by-play because I got my new oiler here, and I'm just trying to. I'll get that into position here so you guys can see the oiler too. There's the this here, so I clean that off like that, and then just a bit of 9010. Like I said before, if you dip in like this and you come out nice and slow, you're not going to get a blob of 9010. You're just going to get a bit of 9010. So it looks pretty good there. So put that down on the. That's perfect, and you should see a ball, kind of a ball in there on the top, and it's not going over the edge. It's just going right there. So now I got to very carefully put that in. So I may have to hold my breath for this one. That's perfect right there. And what I want to do is make sure that when I'm placing it in, I'm not so just push that down to a piece of pegwood, that the oil that I've put down there isn't hitting the side or spreading anywhere. So I just want to drop it in the center, so it's not hitting anything. So it'd be fine right where it is. And then drop the screw down and put that in place. And you just tighten them up. These things don't need to be tightened super hard. They just need to be snug. So don't over tighten these screws, because you'll strip them from the plate. And then you have to either tap it or get a new screw, a bigger screw, which is not good. Like I said before, the screw here, this one here, is kind of loose in place. It's tight, but not that tight. I think that it might be either short or stripped just a bit, but not enough to where it's going to come out. So I'm not concerned about that. I've already loosened this one before. And let's grab this one here. Get it out of the way. And then grab this one here. And I've already, like I said, loosened all these just before. I started with these, and then get this out of the way. Kind of hit my oiler on the way by. I didn't want to do that. And then with any luck, I can coax this one out. So I'm checking for the witness mark here on this, and it looks like it's right here. There's a mark right there, and a mark right there, and that's where the witness mark is. And that's so you can put it back exactly where it came out. So this one looks like it can come out as well, so which is nice. I don't typically like pushing them out from the side. I'd rather take them out like this. Just get the screwdrivers in and kind of wedge them and then turn them. There we go. That one's out there. That out of the way, and then I've got to push the jewel out the other side. And this is the final one I'm pushing out on the other side. So I got a little piece of Rodico holding the stem or the winding mechanism in. So, and again, I'm hoping there's not a lot of pressure involved here, because it's no, that's pretty good. I just saw it move as I put some pressure down on it. And here it is here, and I'm going to do the same function as I did before. I'm going to go under the microscope. First, I'm going to throw it into the vat of cleaning fluid. Like that. Scrub-a-dub-dub. 2 joules in the tub. Funny, funny guy. And yeah, cleaning these jewels, these very high-end watches, like this one here. It's not as simple as the cheaper ones, because the cheaper ones don't have caps everywhere. And taking cap jewels off and putting them back on is just time consuming. It takes a long time to do that. But you got to do it to wash these things properly, and you need to be able to get any crap out of them from. Plus, you need to oil them. You need to take the caps off to put the oil on, and without that oil, the watch amplitude is not going to be very good. So, and I do have to look up the proper lift angle for these things. So when I measure them, I'm getting the appropriate stuff. Anyway, I'm gonna let that dry or soak for a while. So same routine for this last jewel. I didn't bother showing you how I picked it up, but I cleaned it under the microscope again, just like the other ones. Just snap that one down, and then the other jewel here, cleaned it up as well, the cap for it. And I'm just looking for the witness mark. It's on this side here, so I can just rotate the whole movement once I'm ready. And I need to put a little oil on this one as well. I get too close to everything because I can't see a darn thing, right? There we go. That's good. Now I just need to grab this, grab it, flip it, and then look for the witness mark. And there it is right there, which means the screw indentations go on this side. And you got to nudge it just a bit. As I've said in my other videos, the art of nudging. There we go. That's not too bad there. I have over nudged it. It looks pretty good there, so I'm just going to take the peg wood now and push it into place. There we go. That's good. And put this screw in here. Oh, I lost grip on it for a second. Amateur. And hold my breath. There we go. I only hold my breath when I'm trying to get the slot in the screwdriver slot into the screw head, right? And because it's, you're breathing, because they're so small, you're breathing in and out, and the screwdriver moves. So I just hold my breath for a millisecond to do that. In this case, I actually tried breathing to see what it would be like. So I backed the screw off just a bit until I find the threads. There we go. So that's done. So I think, I'm not sure if I've got any caps on the other plates, but I'll have a look and go from there. Alright, I got one more cap, and it's on the bottom of the smaller of the two plates, and there's just a bit of it's a chunk of metal that's holding this on, which is kind of odd. I don't think I've ever seen this before. Let's move this out of the way and then see how this thing comes off. I think I'll just take it off with Rodico, because it's just hard to get a oh, there we go. of that. I don't know if that's fake or not. I just have to have a look at that to see if that's how that jewel setting is put in there. There, I think you can see this. So the setting is in the back end or the bottom half of this, and then there's a little bit of a holding mechanism here. So you just have to, I think I just have to lift this out with Rodico. I'm hoping. Yeah, there we go. So I just lift that out with the Rodico, and that exposes the cap part of that setting, and then I can just clean that up with the Rodico. It looks pretty clean anyway, but just clean that up a bit. And then I want to clean the other end of the jewel. I'm going to have a look at this underneath the microscope again. Make sure there's no issues with this jewel. Looks kind of neat. But while I'm here, I'm going to throw some oil down on this. Throw some oil down. That doesn't sound like watchmaker talk, does it? I'm going to throw some oil down on this. There we go. Now just have a look at that jewel setting, make sure we're good. Yeah, that's in mint condition. The setting, I threw that in a bit of alcohol and dried it off, but I looked under the microscope and there's no issue at all with this. I'm just going to put that back into place, and I'll just sit right on top of the alcoholed area. Trying to make sure that this is in place and flat. There we go. That's flat there, and then I got to grab that little metal setting thing, wherever the heck that is. Hope it's not stuck to my hand, or maybe the Rodico. There it is. It was stuck to the Rodico. You got to watch that Rodico. It just tends to jump around and grab things randomly. It goes in like that, and then the screw goes in and keeps this in place. That is one odd setting. It's having a look at it here because I think it's up high on the side right there. It needs to go down more. So I'm just going to unscrew this because it's got to be at the perfect angle or it won't work. I think it's off. Yeah, that's off for sure. Alright, time to try that again. I think what happened is that I was pushing down on it. Pushing down on this, the back part of the setting roded up a bit. So I have to put this on a block to make sure that that goes all the way down. So just hang on. So I put that on a block, and then just basically only this part here in the hole so that the setting, that's raised setting, can drop through the block. And I push that down in there, so, and it looks like it's in perfect condition, which means it's perfectly aligned. And now I have to tighten that screw, but I gotta watch that I don't tighten it. And so I'm gonna rest this on the block again very carefully because I don't want to scratch the movement, and just screw this in tight. My head was in the way there. That looks good. That looks like it's in now. So it's oiled, cleaned, and in. That was a crazy, crazy movement. Crazy, crazy jewel setting and everything else. Just crazy. So none of these guys, actually, these are all cleaned up, but none of them have settings on the top. Thank God. I don't think I could do another one. I'm losing patience. So I'm going to start building up this watch again. Just make sure there's no dust anywhere. It's still impeccably clean. And I'm going to leave the pallet. I think I'm going to leave the pallet fork and pallet out right now so I can run the train after and make sure everything is fine. So make sure there's enough power. Before I start, I do a little bit of oiling here. So little tiny bit of oiling. Oh yeah, my favorite job is oiling. Oilers were a hockey team, a Canadian hockey team. So I believe they were anyway. And when you're oiling a watch, you don't have to put a lot in on the. You don't have to like spread it all around the circle of something because the movement of the watch itself will spread that around without a problem. So you just have to put it around the edge, and then it'll move around from there, no problem. I'm gonna put this pallet fork bridge back so I don't play with it, and grab the mainspring. Just throw that in. Just make sure that works fine. I should put a pair of gloves on so I don't continuously grab all this stuff. Just put a pair of my I don't know if you call them watchmaker's gloves, but they're pretty comfortable. So put a pair of these on. You can see me putting them on in the corner there. So just so I don't screw things up. So number one should be the escapement here. I think it found the hole. It's funny when you look at this stuff at certain angles, it looks crooked. I think that's good. Is that right? I think that's right. It's got to be the escapement here. Seems to be really, really close to the edge. I may have to have a look at my a look at the watch from before just to see what it looked like before, so I don't screw this up. Because that escapement usually goes in like that, and then that makes sense. Then the minute wheel goes in next, very carefully, and it just goes all the way through, like so. Yeah, that's right. I think it's the angle of my eyeglass that's screwing me up. Because the eyeglass makes it look like it's at an angle, but this is the airy eyeglass I told you about that's really expensive, so it shouldn't be causing me any problems at all. And then this wheel hits the other pinion. that. And then the center wheel goes in. And I believe the center wheel on these watches are coated. This looks like it's got a flashed gold on there. It looks like it's pretty high end. I just have to make sure these wheels are lined properly. These two seem to be fine. It's this one here seems to be a, what do they call it, a pain in the butt. I just need it to mesh with the pinion here. For some reason it doesn't want to mesh. Look at that at an angle here because the whole thing seems to be off just a bit. There we go. Alright, there we go. It's meshed now. It is meshed now. It just needed some meshing convincing. And then I'm going to grab the plate here. I'm going to put a tiny bit of oil here on the winding mechanism here. Just a tiny bit here. Not a ton. There we go. That'll spread out. And a little on the locking or gearing the crown wheels and stuff, because that'll spread out too. Just a bit. And a bit right here too. And you just let that oil, like I said, you don't have to put it everywhere. You just have to put it in a couple of locations, and then that'll spread out to the other locations, so you're not overdoing it, right? That's what I'm telling you. That is what I'm telling you. So minty. This thing is so minty. I think I need 2 gloves on. Alright, just go down here like this. Looks like there's this plate holds this part here. And then it's kind of odd, but this doesn't have any wheels in it, which is not normal for one of these plates. Let's get my fingernail in here and make sure everything is kind of lined up. Yeah, it's got 3 screws on it. So I'm going to grab 3 of my favorite screws and put them down. I think I got to go to my non-close-up glasses because it's too far away. It's going to be a long video, folks. I apologize, but whenever you're doing this stuff, it's long. And like I always do, just tighten it, not too much, just a little tiny bit, and then you can snug it up later once you know it's all working fine. Otherwise, you'll be pinching things and it will not work well. So that is my recommendation. I rest my case. There we go there, and then 1 more screw. This one in here. Alright, that's those in there. And I'm going to put this wheel in here. Try to remember what it's called. I always, whenever I get to this part of the watch, I'm always guessing what things are called and trying to remember what they are. It's kind of funny, because I should remember them. And I think, I'm not sure if this has to align with anything below it. Oh, there we go. Oh, I think it does. I think there's a screw that sits up. Yeah, right there. There's a screw right there. So you have to make sure that this plate or the gear aligns with that screw head. Otherwise it won't fit. It's kind of a nutty thing. It comes in from the bottom. So it's oh, there, that's good there. Looks like it's aligned. Hoping that's the right screw. I think it is. And it's a big screw. And it goes in righty-tighty, which is nice. Just check and see if it's still loose. Yeah, it is. It's good. So that was in, well, that's no problem there. And then this one here. This goes in. I got to dump the screw out of here so I can see what I'm doing. So that's like that. And then I got to get in a bit close here so I can. I need my shtick. I need my shtick. There we go. There we go. That's in tight. This one's in tight, this one's in tight. I think everything is good. Just look at the base here to make sure there's nothing crimping or there's no issues here. And then I can tighten these up here. Otherwise I'll forget to do it and I'll return the watch. And the owner, who's Bori, will go, "What the hell are you smoking, JD? Jesus." Alright, now I've got to put this really beautiful plate in now. This is the one with the crazy one that was underneath. So this has got 4 friggin' pivots to go through. So this better go through. I'll be very upset if this doesn't work. Extremely upset because it's 4 pivots. Oh my God, they're trying to kill us. It's a quad pivot. This could require tons of nudging. Or it might just all fall into place by some accident, some miracle. Alright, it's down. It's down, but I've got to get my nudge-o-matic here. And I'm going to go off camera because I can't do this while the camera's on. So this is what I use for nudging. And I basically have to make sure that all these plates, like all the wheels, are finding homes, which takes some work. Usually the center wheel is not an issue, but this is a lot of nudging. Yep, anyway, I'm going to go off camera to see if I can drop the plate. So here's the trick. Once you get one of the wheels in, you put a screw down. You put a screw in that just keeps the plate kind of down where it needs to be. And don't tighten it. It's very loose right now, right? That way the plate can still move. And I know that screw is in place, and then I can nudge the other wheels and the center wheel will stay in place that way. There, I believe all of the pivots are where they need to be, so I'm just going to very carefully put these screws back. Like I said before, I'm not going to tighten them much. I just want to make sure they're in. And then I'm going to run the train, see if it spins. Then I have to oil the pallet fork with the with that special pallet fork oil. Alright, I'm just going to check and see if everything is kind of flat. It's basically look at the edges here to see if the plates are down, which would be a good thing, and it looks like they're all down nicely. And then I just take this pegwood, so you don't want to scratch anything, and just move this a bit, and I can see movement. I can see movement, so that's good. They're all in. Now I can tighten this up. And again, I don't need to tighten it so it's a death grip. I just need to tighten it a bit. Make sure I still see movement. Yeah, no problem. All the parts are in place. And this one needs to go down here. Make sure that's flat. And it is. Make sure everything's still moving. And it is. And then tighten that up. And now I just want to run the train here and see what happens. So I'm going to grab a bench key here and take the fat end of it and see if I can just wind this up just a bit and then let it go. I'm kind of controlling it as it lets go with my glove here, with my finger on the wheel just a little bit, so it doesn't, so I don't get this thing just spinning out of control. That's spinning the running the train, and it's working really well, so there's no problem there at all. So we're getting success. We're starting to get success here. So now I'm going to take my oiler and ever so carefully I'm going to grab this oil here, which is the Mobius 9415, and I'm going to put a couple of, I'm going to just basically oil some of the feet of the escapement so that and they'll pass, these feet will pass this oil, and I want to oil the heel part of the feet because this will pass this along to the pallet fork. That's as an alternative to oiling the pallet fork, because this oil's pretty cool. Pretty cool, and I've seen this oil on working on movements before. I need to put a little bit of, I need to turn this just a bit to get access to some of the other feet here. There, that should be good enough. Let's jab this down again and put this really cool Mobius oil away. So I ran the train. So the next thing to do is to check out the upper balance jewel of the balance bridge, this jobby do here. So I've got to take this off and clean her up. Yeah, this, so I want to make sure that this is a mint condition, because this is one of the critical components to make sure your watch is running perfectly. So when you unscrew this, you got to make sure that the regulator pins that are right here, they're a little longer than the base here. So you have to make sure that those regulator pins are in one of the holes in the block. Otherwise, it'll bend the regulator pin. So it's a little bit tricky, but it's not impossible. That's a little tricky. So you just have to make sure that they're in there. so that when you unscrew this, trying to very carefully unscrew this. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but trying to do this without slipping because this is looks like it's gold. And I'll put these screws way the hell over here, so I don't want these screws again to get in the way. And yeah, it looks like this is cap is covering there, so make sure the regular pins again are over the holes. In a very powerful but controlled manner, you want to remove that screw. Not a bad job. So let's take that out like that, and I think I should be able to pop this out the underside, right, just by pushing down on it. So let me get the infamous pegwood here and see if I can do that. Make sure there's nothing in the way. That just fell out like nothing. Perfect. There it is. There's the movement. There's the setting and the cap. So I'm going to throw those into the bath. Oh yeah, they need a scrub-a-dub-dub and a rub-tub-tub. First, I need to get a little bit of lighter fluid in there. It's only 1:30. It feels like it's like 5 o'clock. I think I'm worn out from all this concentrating. There we go. That's probably a little bit too much in there, but what the heck? What is it? Can't something too fat to fly? Can't remember what the saying is. Something like that. Anyway, let me just grab this here, toss that in. Grab this here, toss this in. I like this gold setting, by the way. It's very nice. Hopefully I won't have to make one. Now let me just look and see what this cap jewel, this upper balance jewel looks like after I do this. I'm going to just have a boo in the microscope. So I'll just turn this off for a little while and go downstairs and have a drink of water. So these little jewel settings have been in here for a long time. I went downstairs, watched a bit of golf, the Wells Fargo Championship, and saw some guys hit really long golf balls. And up here in Ontario, Canada, we have a COVID lockdown right now. So it's a stay-at-home order basically. And my wife has seen some dudes out in the lake fishing, and I was like, okay. And I looked up the regulations, and you're allowed fishing. So they didn't say no fishing, but they did say you're not allowed leaving your home unless you're going for groceries or going for medical appointments or things like that. So they're basically not breaking the fishing law, but they're breaking the stay-at-home order. So, but if they don't get caught, then they're gonna have a great day fishing. So, and I can't go fishing because the dock's not in yet. The dock is not in yet. So there we go. I've cleaned up these jewels. I'm gonna go take a look under the microscope. They're dry now. All right, so jewels are clean and inspected. So this jewel here, where the balance goes through, which is probably the more critical one, it's in pretty mint condition, so there's no issue there at all with this one. So I'm going to push this in and see if I can level that off. All right, that's in there. And just touch it with the Rodico in case I left any dust from the pegwood. Now this jewel here, I looked at this 16 different ways from Sunday, as they say. And this jewel here on the other side has a surface crack, but the jewel is actually, it's a cap jewel, and the crack is on the edge. And so the edge crack, I'm almost kind of not concerned with it because of where it is. I got to put this thing back in the right place here. But the not sure if there was a witness mark on this one. But the cap, I got to actually oil it first. Just jumped out of my tweezers. Just make sure everything is still good. Yeah. So the top of this jewel is shaped like a diamond. So they actually cut this jewel to look like a diamond. So this is pretty high-end stuff. So I don't think I've ever seen this in any watch I've worked on. But this watch has got, it's a diamond-shaped jewel on the top, and there's just a slight edge crack on it. So you can't replace a diamond-shaped jewel unless I put in a normal cap in there. But the crack is kind of a surface crack, and it's right on the edge. It doesn't look like it's going to propagate to the center. It looks like it should be fine. So I think we'll take our chances on this one, because replacing that jewel would probably be almost impossible. Trying to find where this thing goes in here. I think it goes in right there. We have to get even closer to look at this to make sure I've got this lined up properly. Let me turn the camera off for a second. There, I picked the darn thing up with Rodico and dropped it down where the undercut is for the screws. So it's in place now. I'm just going to push this down. Love the sound of that snap. So there we go. So that should be fine. Like I said, it had that one issue, which is a slight surface. It's not a crack. It was like a shear of the jewel, and you could see where some watchmaker years ago put this thing in, and kind of the pivot or something must have punched the top of it pretty hard, because it looks like there's a dent on the in the filling right where the crack starts from somebody doing that, and then it's a small shear on the edge. So if for some reason this causes an issue in the future, I got to drive to Carolina and go to Bory's place and replace it. That's what I'll do. I'll just drive to North Carolina or South Carolina or North Carolina or South Carolina. I think he's in South Carolina. And go there and fix it, but I think this will be fine. I'm also hoping that you always have to do some hoping in this watch repairs business. Let me shut up before I get the screw in here. I'm also hoping, not praying, but just hoping that, what was I hoping? I forgot. Oh yeah, when I regulate this, he said that the regulation arm was all the way over to slow because it was running too fast. So I'm going to just put it in the center again, with the thoughts that maybe the cleaning will have centered that better. So there, that's in center now. So when I reassemble this, it should be better. So now I'm going to probably throw the whole this balance looks impeccably clean though. I hate to put this in lighter fluid if it's impeccably clean, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'll do that. See, yeah, the balance looks super clean. I'm gonna look look at it under the microscope just to make sure I'm not full of crap. So I'll be right back. All right, I found the problem here. So the upper balance staff pivot is slightly bent. Now that might have been part of that impact I talked about. So this is the upper balance staff pivot right here. And that is just slightly bent to the left, as you can see. And if I turn that around a bit more, let me see if I can get a better angle on that. Maybe there. Right there. Try to get the angle and then steady it down a bit. Yes, that's good enough. Anyway, you can see it's slightly bent to the left, so that's a problem that absolutely I need to fix. So to fix that, I've got to get out my handy dandy J-Cot tool, and I'm going to take that pivot and ride it in the J-Cot tool, and that should straighten the pivot out. There's other ways of doing it with tweezers and other things, but they're more dangerous than rolling it with in the J-Cot tool and actually and uniformly straightening it out. Plus it hardens the pivot as well as you do that. So that's got to be why that upper jewel, that this thing went off to the side, and for some reason the upper jewel, the cap jewel on the top, has a small shearing crack on it, and this is probably what's causing the amplitude issue. So I'm going to fix that and put her back together. So get the J-Cot tool out and start J-Cotting.